how I stepped through a fucking painting that activated my gifts and how you can do the same. When I was this little young girl, I had this dream that had such an impact on me and my life. And in this dream, I saw the little door from Alice in Wonderland in my garden. And behind this door, there was such a high frequency of unconditional love, of God frequency, that I wanted to go through this door so badly. And it had made such an impact on me when I woke up, like that feeling of unconditional love, of that high frequency, of that God frequency. It made such an impact on me. And since that moment, I became a huge fan of Alice in Wonderland. Now, right before my Saturn return, before turning 28, out of curiosity and my connection to Alice, I did magic mushrooms with an artist friend who, in the middle of our visual experience, gifted me a portrait that he painted of me as Alice. And on this portrait, you could see my face with chess pieces and playing cards. There were mushrooms, the white rabbit, a black and white checkerboard floor, and a caterpillar. It was so beautiful because I was able also to see the energy of the love that he had put into painting this portrait of me. But later on in the trip, I started seeing my right arm melt, the flesh melting, and underneath the flesh was a transformer arm. I didn't want to look at it because it was so scary and so frightening. And so I started really distracting myself by going in my head and start overthinking and really focusing all my attention on my head. And this was actually the first time that I experienced how overthinking is actually a coping mechanism not to feel negative emotions or feel fear. And I was wishing for the trip to be over soon so I could come back to normal. Only I never came back to normal. And I know there's this whole movement of, yay, plant medicine are healing. And yes, they are. Yet also they can open up portals in your consciousness. And if you don't know how to close these portals, they can be quite intimidating as well. And so a portal had opened in my energy field, and some weird fucking energy came through this portal on my arm. And so my right arm felt disgusting, as if it wasn't my arm anymore. And even during the night, like when I fell asleep, my arm started moving around, doing energy work, and I would like sometimes wake up from it very scared because I didn't know at that time what energy work was. I didn't know at that time that, I could open portals in my field and that energies could come through that. What the fuck? I didn't know any of that, so it was very, very scary. So as grounded that I was like, I'm gonna buy a night vision camera so I can catch my arms doing this thing at night and see what the fuck's going on. But then I would wake up with footage that my arm would just turn the camera around first before it started doing its magic. Or whatever that was. It was so super creepy. So when I started telling the people around me about this, they started getting really worried and convinced me to go see a doctor and get an MRI scan of my brain because maybe I might have a brain tumor. And so I did. But nothing was on the scan. Nothing was there. The experience, though, of going into the hospital and seeing a doctor was not very pleasant because they didn't really listen to me, to my story. They got into a if this then that system, didn't know what to do with me, didn't actually really care. And so I knew, okay, I have to get my ass out of here and start figuring this shit out on my own. And so I packed my backpack sold all my stuff, rented out my room, and I started traveling the world seeking for answers. As I was wearing my homemade dresses with a petticoat and bloomers, these long underpants, as I had sewn a pocket in my bloomers for my passport and my money so that I would be safe, and I used my petticoat as a pillow in any case I wouldn't have a pillow to sleep on. I had cutlery in my ears so that I could always eat my food that needed cutlery. And with my art supplies, I would be making portraits on the street to make some money along the way. And as I traveled across countries on different continents, I had met wizards, witches, shamans, and high priestesses who all told me the same. You are changing the ether with your arms, and you are at the beginning phase of developing a shamanic gift, meaning that it will be uncontrollable, that you experience expressive, explosive outbursts, and that you will get initiated into developing this gift. So one of the clear signs that I followed was when I received a photo of two friends of mine holding a print of that portrait of me as Alice, saying that they found this print in a shop in a little town in Australia. So I knew I have to go to Australia and go to this little town and find the print myself. As I was wondering how the fuck does a print of this Alice portrait of mine end up in a shop in a town in Australia. So apparently my friend who painted the painting, Sander Bos, he had received a request from someone who was selling blotter art online, which is art printed on paper that are divided in very small little squares so that people who sell acid or LSD can sell every square as one hit. That's basically what it is. And he asked, can I use your paintings to print on the blotter art and then you will receive some and you can sell them. And so apparently a shop owner bought on this online website the Alice print of my face to sell in her little psychedelic shop in Nimbin, the little town in Australia. So I knew this was a sign to go to Australia. And so I went to this town, trying to see if I could find my portrait in the shop there. The first person that I meet is an Italian girl, and her name is Alice. She invites me to come to her house that she was renting, which was built by a very crafted and creative man who had used all different kinds of doors and windowsills to build this really creative home in the middle of nature. And she had added a small door and the mushrooms in her garden. And suddenly I realized, holy shit, me in my dress with my petticoat, meeting a girl named Alice. She invites me to her house, which is one big Alice in Wonderland house. I am actually experiencing this painting right now. What the fuck? So this painting had opened a portal in my consciousness and it just manifested as a reality. Kinda like vision boards do, only way more intense. It really woke me up that paintings are some kind of vision boards on steroids, because the amount of hours and time and dedication and energy that is being put into a painting has such a huge high voltage that the manifestation powers and the creation powers are they just blow up. And so I became super conscious of the portals that I was opening with my art, which is what led me through the work that I do now. Combining the energy surgery where I operate in the ether, changing the ether with my transformer arms, clearing away everything that doesn't belong in my client's energy field, and I start to see the soul gifts of my clients, and I paint that in a portrait as a portal for them to really own their psychic gifts that has been suppressed by society. Or I translate it into graphics into a website, so it also attracts in your aligned clients. And one of the big initiations that I had to go through to develop this shamanic gift as a professional psychic surgeon was that I didn't realize that when there was LSD being dropped on my face and people were tripping on my eyeballs, that it really affected my energy field, and I had all these tripping people in my energy field. So I had gone through this huge initiation of deciphering the entities from the portals and the black magic from the curses, from the trauma and from ancestral trauma and from cultural programming and everything that I could see in people's field, because I went through this initiation. And it was hard. I couldn't do groceries normally. I couldn't care for myself normally. It was so fucking challenging. But it's all for a purpose of being initiated into a gift that then gets to be used as a service to the collective, right? So this is why I am also doing Down the Rabbit Hole of Gifts, to help the people who have been through these initiations to really start owning their gifts, because we are not meant to suppress these. We're not meant to get scared of them. We're not meant to, start to believe like, oh, I'm too mystical, whatever. I might be crazy, so whatever. No, you're meant to. You will be called in this calling, and you cannot not answer the calling. It's actually ignoring the call that is making you fucking crazy. You have to own your gifts. And this is what we do in Down the Rabbit Hole of Gifts. A 7-week program where we are going down into the rabbit hole of Alice, through the looking glass, crossing the chessboard, and eventually stepping through that small little door of the unconditional love and the God frequency, and really being aligned with your higher self and your highest timeline. To really start embodying your unique technology, your unique spiritual technology, so that you can serve from a place of owning your shit, of being self-centered and not giving your power away to outside forces that will try to label you as crazy, too mystical, too whatever the fuck, or too broken or weird. No, because we're not taking on any of these magic spells, and we are going to really embody, so not overthinking it, your own spiritual technology, your own intuitive gifts for yourself, for your own leadership, but also if you are an energy worker, if you are building a brand, if you are out there doing any energy work, to really amp up the power of your work and get your clients even better results, because you fully fucking own your gifts. If you want to join Down the Rabbit Hole of Gifts, a 7-week program, we start in June. Find the link in the description or in the link in my bio, or you can send me a message.